Sunshine Secondary School is known for its Olympic standard sporting equipment, including a modern swimming pool. It has well-trained teachers with wide experience as well as a well-equipped ultra-modern resource center. It is located along Langata Road, a 15-minute drive from the Central Business District, and has a modern, spacious student hostel. Ofafa Jericho Secondary School is known for nurturing talent in co-curricular activities, especially in football and rugby. Ofafa Jericho has one of the best disciplined records in the country. It has a mentoring program tasked with ensuring the needs of the boy child are catered for.
7 seasons down the line, the Great Debaters contest only gets bigger and better. Welcome to the show. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Our motion today is environmental degradation is the main threat to peace in Africa. We have Sunshine Secondary versus Ofafa Jericho. Who'll be the victor, Mariam?
We'll have to let the debaters answer that question. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
I am Arafat Mohammed from Ofafa Jericho High School, ready to propose the motion that states environmental degradation is the main threat to peace in Africa. According to Certificate Geography Form 4, environment is defined as all the external conditions surrounding an organism and which have influence over its behavior or activities. Degradation is defined as causing the condition of something to become worse. Therefore, what is environmental degradation? Is the deterioration of the environment through depletion of resources leading to destruction of ecosystem. What is one thing we can't live without? There are many, but in my opinion, it's water. We can survive without a government or the bad leadership that our opponents are about to pose, but we can't live without water. Let's take an example, Nairobi currently. The current situation that we are seeing in our city, the capital city of Kenya. We have witnessed how scarcity of resources can result into chaos. Some of us scramble for tea or water during our break times or free times. It's a common occurrence if you are not privileged to school in a GDC institution. All this scrambling disrupts peace. Now, Africa, endowed with vast mineral resources, nearly a third of the world's hydroelectric power potential, possesses 10 of 18 major mineral ores. And it's already on a path to total chaos as the resources that we have, which have helped us in our daily lives, are no longer there. This is due to what? The environment has been degraded. According to the words of Virginia Woolf, let me put it this way. You cannot find peace by avoiding life. The environment is life and a common factor that unifies the 55 African states. And it's the availability of those resources that unifies us and brings us together. Now, the uneven distribution of resources. Time and again, we have noticed that the countries in Africa, due to poor leadership and all others, we have that there are 2 classes. We have the wealthy classes and we have the poor. The wealthy merchants and those who control the resources which are unevenly distributed, they monopolize them. And when they monopolize them, they lead to those poor, disadvantaged and aggrieved. All this is due to the environmental degradation. It leads to environmental degradation. It disrupts peace as there is fight between the rich and the poor due to those resources which are there available, be it natural or the artificial ones. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Thanks. That is out now. My name is Maestro, and I'm here to oppose the motion that environmental degradation is not the biggest threat to peace in Africa. Now, in this continent, we keep underlying other problems in the name of magnitude and solving those problems and not solving the other problems. Well, Obama, the former president of the United States of America, said that change will not come to people if they wait for the right time or for the right person. We are the people we've been waiting for. we are the change we have been looking for. According to the UN Global Forum report, it states that environmental problems are by no means the root cause of conflict in Africa. Well, they are seen as drives to conflict in Africa. To define the motion, environment is the conditions of a place that affect the behavior of somebody or someone. Environmental degradation is the deterioration of natural resources, such as soil, such as air, such as water, destruction of ecosystems and habitats in the name of affecting other conditions also. A threat is a possible disaster, danger, or a danger. Peace is a state of calmness. Well, environmental degradation is not the biggest threat to Africa. Why? Because firstly, we have ethnic and tribal conflict. This most of the time is fueled by difference in political factions, such as a case on point is the Rwanda-Burundi genocide between 1990 and 1903. 1 million deaths were recorded. Almost $1.5 million worth of property was destroyed. Leave that. Let's come home. What most of you witnessed, or rather all of you witnessed, in 2007, 2008, due to difference in political factions, we had tribal conflict in which 2,000 people were named dead. Secondly, environmental degradation isn't the biggest threat to peace. Why? Because we have corruption. Dissatisfaction by citizens or by opposing sides of the government will bring about demonstrations. It will bring about revolt in the country. So therefore, there won't be unrest in the country. Look at the Afia House scandal, in which it was alleged that 3.5 billion was lost. Look at the NYS scandal that was allegedly supposed to lose 791 million. That will cause dissatisfaction in the government by the citizens. That will cause the citizens to revolt. Well, as I finish, we are judged by not the brevity of our words or the multitude of our words, but a man is judged when he's quick to know when he or she is wrong and is quick to accept correction. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals now, beginning with the proposition. You have 3 minutes.
Magisore is the name, from Ofafa Jericho, a protagonist in this motion that states, environmental degradation is the main threat to peace in Africa today. They say a hungry man is an angry man. My friend, I think you're hungry. You need food. Because, first things first, the Rwanda genocide never took place between 1990 and 1903. Not 1993, not 1903. So, we have seen conflicts. Conflicts caused by what? Environmental degradation. Environmental degradation causes lack of food in this world. Let's take the case in Kenya right now. How dare you tell me environmental degradation is not the main threat to peace in Africa? Yet you see someone on TV dragging a carcass of a cow in order to get food. Huh? In your own schools. Huh? You find that in your own schools, there's not enough food is being cooked. So you end up fighting for the remaining. According to TWN, that's third world nations, we see that there's wildlife-human conflicts. And all this because of what? We humans are invading the wildlife habitats, especially the national parks. We see the pastoralists entering there. They take their food. According to biology, we see that the producers reduce, the consumers also reduce. So you take off the plants, degrading the environment. What happens to the animals? They come to your homes, eat you up. Then in the end, you start crying to the KWF. Oh, your animals are eating us. And why? We are the one invading this. All this because of environmental degradation, people. We see there are conflicts between Kenya and Ethiopia because of River Omo. River Omo supplies water to Lake Turkana. See, Ethiopia wants to build a dam across River Omo. This dam is called Gilgel Gibe 3, HEP dam. Kenya fears what? Building a dam across River Omo will reduce the water influx into Lake Turkana. Thus, Lake Turkana is the only desert lake here in Kenya. Will refuse supporting the population in Lake Turkana, thus causing conflicts between those Turkanans. We have conflicts between the Maasai, Samburu, and other pastoral communities around Kenya, and also some parts of some communities in northern Uganda. Eastern Somalia, Western Somalia actually, and Southeastern Ethiopia. All because of what? No pasture for their cattle. There's no arable land in this world. Africa has a total area of about 30,338,695 square kilometers. What can you do with that? If you transform that into agricultural land, how much would you plant in that area to feed enough the whole world? We don't even need Asia because we say it's the rice bowl in Africa, in the world actually. So they produce a lot of food. In Africa, what if we were to change this? Peace will be restored because there is enough food. People will resume their life as normal. No conflicts because of food, because of everything else that is being caused by environmental degradation. According to Valerie Guarnieri, the regional director of East and Central Africa World Food Program, she said that in 2016, 11.2 million people in East Africa needed emergency food. All because of what? There's no food. Tell me, after some time, we'll see people invading supermarkets, stealing food, stealing everything that they can get in order to eat. People, my file is closed. I rest my case there.
Opposition, we're ready for your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
You do not use a microscope to look at the stars. Neither do you use a telescope to look at cells. Now, to our opponents, you said poor leadership. You assumed we were going to say poor leadership. I am here to say we are not here to say poor leadership. You also mentioned social classes. You are doing our job for us. We are here basically to say that environmental degradation, yes, it is an issue, but it is not the biggest threat. He mentioned it, governance of the country. Your issue on water, I would like to ask you first of all, what is the correlation between there being lack of water and environmental degradation? Because according to a report done by the Nation newspaper, it said that this was due to lack of proper planning by the government to conserve water in Dakaine Dam. So I ask you, how does that? Isn't that bad governance? That is not due to the lack of water. To my first point, in 2014, the University of Johannesburg did a survey to find the root cause of conflict in African states. It reads, the root causes of conflict in Africa stems back to colonialism and slavery, which may hinder African states from reaching first world states. It also goes ahead to mention the main causes of conflict are as follows: ethnic and political instability, poverty, and corruption. Now, our first opposer already mentioned ethnicity. I'm going to ask you a question. How many countries in Africa, were not colonized? I only know of 2, and you do too, Ethiopia and Liberia. Now, I will tell you my source, and it's very simple. The only source that is 100% credible, which is history. History tells us that due to these 2 countries only being the ones that weren't colonized, all the other countries right now are suffering. Why? It's simply because the colonialists came and showed us that they can come take our land. They can come degrade our environment. They can come and do whatever they see fit. Now, I have a question to ask you. When I'm looking at this from a pragmatic point of view, should I say that it's environmental degradation, or should I look at the root cause, which is colonialism? Now, on to my second point, poverty. Now, the West refers to African states as being third world countries. This is a stereotype by them. I am here to tell you, we have the capability to compete with them. We do. But the only reason we cannot see through this is because they rank us as poor. Therefore, our trading with them is not fair. It's not fair because when a country like Japan is trading cars and we are trading tea. Now, which of the 2 is a more complete product? We all know it's the car. Therefore, the prices are higher. I will finish with this. I think that people want peace so much that one of these days, governments had better get out of the way and let them have it. Thank you. Jonathan Chola.
Thank you very much to the audience for their questions. The proposers have been asked to give an example of a state that is surviving without a government but that may have water. And the opposition have been challenged to give us the main cause of the main challenge facing Africa and the main challenge to peace if it is not environmental degradation. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
As my colleague, second proposer, Mark Gisore, I'm a protagonist too to this motion that states environmental degradation is the greatest threat to peace in Africa. Now, the gentleman asked, give an example of a country that is surviving without a government, yet they have water. Now, I'll answer you, yeah. When Mark Gisore talked about lack of water and the government and the poor leadership, it simply meant we can't do without water. And I think it is clear what Arafat said. This is a common occurrence to some of us who didn't attend some of the GDC schools or institutions. There is scramble for water, and scarcity brings about fight for water, fight between our communities and fight between Africa. Now, let me take you around Africa, fellow ladies and gentlemen. A tenth of the world's mineral production comes from Africa. A third of the world's hydroelectric power potential comes from Africa too. Now, 18 of the major mineral ores, we possess a substantial quantities of 10. A quarter, now this Africa, our motherland, occupies a quarter of the Earth's land surface. We have the resources. We have the resources that can inculcate to a per capita income that can fill the world. But what are we doing to these resources? We are depleting them. And depletion brings about coercion between different communities. Let's take, for example, Darfur. Now, the World Peace University conference in 2007, Darfur, it was clear that the coercion between the communities, the pastoralists and the cultivators, was centered on water. Now, these guys, what they've simply done is that which God gave them, the natural resource, they've depleted it. After depleting it, then they start fighting for the dwindling natural resources that we have. Now, ladies and gentlemen, according to the United Nations Environmental Program, mineral deposits deplete and people start fighting for the meager remains. According to AfricaFiles.com, the battle for control of the demand of the diamond reserves in Sierra Leone the reserves in Sierra Leone fueled the civil war in the country, which resulted into the death of many people. Pollution. Africa, as you all know, is an agricultural land. More, we rely on agriculture. Now, when we deplete our soil, then the carrying capacity of this soil will be too much low, so that we can't plant and we can't do anything. We can't do any agriculture that will sustain us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, join us for the fight, because alone we'll go fast, but together we'll go faster. Amen.
Opposition, let's hear your response to the audience. You have 3 minutes.
They say, be kind and big-hearted, never cruel or hateful. But if someone puts hands on you, send them to the cemetery. This is Ishmael Cornell Enaola, first of his name, winner of Great Debaters, here to answer your question. You asked if environmental degradation is not the biggest threat to peace in Africa, then what is? A study done by the United Nations, particularly by the Secretary General, who has taken particular interest in Africa, stated that the number one cause of African-based conflict is ethnic and tribal violence, 1, infectious disease, 2, corruption, 3, poverty, 4, and 5, environmental degradation. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do not count 1, 5. Now, to correct the proposers, they said that there have been tribal wars between the Maasai and the Samburu. I am Samburu. We have never fought with the Maasai. Tribal wars have been between Samburu and Pokot, Maasai and Karamojong. These two tribes have never fought. They're basically cousins. Now, In the year 2006, in March of 2016, a study was done by the African Union Peacekeeping and Security Agency on the productivity of a country in relation to factors. These were their findings. Africa as a whole is affected primarily by its high population, infectious disease, and poverty. Environmental degradation can and has been a factor, but cannot, and I cannot emphasize this enough, cannot be the root cause of Africa's struggle and lack of peace. Cannot. How many times will I say cannot? People, take this seriously. We are facing worse things than environmental degradation. We are facing infectious disease. My mother is from Benin. They have an outbreak of Ebola there. Will I have to one day write my father's eulogy, my brother's eulogy, my unborn son's eulogy? Because people are focusing on environmental degradation? No, I will not. My son will live to 100 years old. Because people will focus, and I repeat, will focus on more important things than environmental degradation. Thank you.
We're ready for closing statements. Ofafa Jericho, you have 1 minute.
People, I think I've already proven to you that environmental degradation is a main threat to peace in Africa. Let me ask the opposers, where will you live if there's no world to live in? Huh? Where will you? Tell me. The environment is degrading. So, will you live on Saturn or Mars or even Jupiter? It's inhabitable. When you make this environment inhabitable, there's no place to live. Conflicts everywhere. Let me give you a fact. According to the Daily Nation of September 3rd, 2004, we saw that 3,000 cubic meters of human waste were being released by the Kisumu Municipal Council into Lake Victoria. Even worse, 3 million tons of human waste and raw sewage were being released into the same lake by the Mwanza Municipal Council. So, if there's no water, where will you live? For the fellow who asked, if there is a nation which doesn't run without a government, how long can you stay without drinking water? How long? You cannot answer me that because you've never experienced this. Let me tell you people, we keep on degrading this environment, there'll be nowhere to live in. People, we have to change. Thank you.
Sunshine, you have a minute for your final statement.
Well, they say that you cannot live at all if you think you know it all. So thanks for the correction. We are simply saying that yes, environmental degradation is a problem, but it is not the biggest problem. And I refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice has gone bankrupt. I refuse to believe that we are going to focus on environmental degradation as the root cause of conflict in Africa. Yes? I refuse to believe that we are going to sit here and debate for another, how many minutes? I have 1 minute, yeah? I refuse to believe that we are going to do that. It is time to cash in your checks. Write your check to the Bank of Justice and simply oppose this motion, saying that environmental degradation is the biggest threat to peace. Thank you.
Sunshine Secondary, Maestro, okay. And I liked when you mentioned about Rwanda, that the genocide and then the post-election violence in Kenya, showing that the environment is not the only thing. Jonathan, I felt you had a good rebuttal. Ishmael, I feel like you are the Jesus of the team. I felt that you were very passionate, and at some point I imagined your son, and you're there writing his eulogy. So that was very nice.
Ofafa Jericho, we have so many resources, but we kept on talking about water and water. So I strongly think that the motion itself was more demanding, but most of us never went out to identify the real issues and probably come up with more countries that have conflicts and the reasons they have conflicts.
As debaters, I think we were quite withdrawn from the motion. We want a point where you are engaging the audience. You simplify the motion. And that is what Ishmael did. You know, when you personalize the motion and you're coming from the point of this thing is affecting me, dear audience, and therefore, next time, you'll be the one, then we feel persuaded. But when you make us feel like, yeah, this thing is happening elsewhere in Africa or elsewhere, it's not going to affect us, you are detached and will not feel convinced. The element of debate, persuasion, be persuasive.
Ofafa Jericho, you were awarded 60%. Please give them a round of applause. Sunshine Secondary School, the judges saw it fit to award you 65%. You are our winners for the debate.
Thank you to both teams for a wonderful debate, and of course, bravo to the gentlemen of Sunshine Secondary School who won this debate. Thank you to our audience here in studio and you at home for watching. Follow us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
How do you feel now that the debate is over, that you've given your points and the results are out?
I'll say we done fairly because I did the best that I could in order to try to win the motion, but in the end, we lost it and I conceded defeat to our opponents.
Sunshine, you won the debate. How do you feel? Good. You feel good? Yeah, but kind of disappointed. Why disappointed? Guess we're not proceeding.
Debate is a learning process, so anytime we learn, we win some, we lose some, but at the end, we leave better than we came to the stage.